Hey there, Nili Salem here with some just thoughts that I was thinking about Hanukkah. Here at the beach and the sun is setting. We're about to go into the last night of Hanukkah, Zot Chanukah. And I didn't fully formulate the thoughts, but I thought that maybe you could help me formulate them. So I'm just going to share some ideas that were really blowing my mind. And for those of you in America, we can take this into our candle lighting. And for those of you in Israel or elsewhere, it's always helpful to have that Torah for the last day, because sometimes the last day of Hanukkah just feels like, is it even still Hanukkah, So here's what I was thinking. I've been thinking a lot about divine femininity and divine masculinity, and how we all know that the sages say that the future is feminine, and what does that even mean? Like, I don't really know, But we also know, and it's the whole thing about the feminine rising and the beginning story that the sun and the moon, they had this fight initially. There can't be two great powers. So the moon complained, right? So God said, okay, if you're complaining about it, like, you fix it, like, make yourself small. And then the moon, representing the feminine, was diminished until this day. As we've seen throughout history, the feminine has been oppressed and suppressed and used, and so thank God we're like coming to the end of human history and messianic times, so the feminine is definitely rising. And we see that, like, look, here I am making a Torah video. That's nothing that would have ever happened in history if the feminine wasn't rising. So I was just thinking about how interesting it is that the only two holidays that are going to exist when Mashiach comes, after Mashiach comes, the sages say, are Hanukkah and Purim. And I was thinking about the fact that in essence, both Hanukkah and Purim are very feminine dominated. So I just wanted to share why, and a few thoughts after that. So here's why is Hanukkah a feminine holiday, in my humble opinion. So the whole thing started with this chick named Yehudit, a woman. A woman started the revolution, because there was this horrible thing historically that apparently went on to, just not even like 300-400 years ago. Someone was telling me yesterday at my Shabbat lunch. This thing called general's rights. And general's rights were when there was a Jewish bride who was about to get married, the local general of whatever the ruling power was would have his way with her. He would sleep with her before she got married, whether it be right before the wedding or even during the wedding. And they were powerless to do anything about it. But there's the story that goes that Yehudit, who was the daughter of the Kohen Gadol, was ready for this, and when the general came to take her, to rape her, she got him really drunk with wine and cheese and beheaded him and took his head to Jerusalem, and this started the revolution. That's pretty hardcore. That's really hardcore. Like, as a story you could just accept it, like, whoa, but if you really think about what she had to do, like, woo, I could not behead someone, I don't think, even for the sake of helping the feminine rise. So she was pretty amazing for doing that. So my friend Eliyahu was saying to me, I was asking him, but there's another story. There's a story of a Jewish bride, and she was the daughter of the Kohen Gadol. And he says these stories get confused and we're not actually sure which is which, but the other story in history goes that the daughter of the Kohen Gadol was a bride, and she was saying to her dad, like, are you gonna let this happen to me also? So on her wedding day, she wore an iron suit underneath her wedding dress, and she had a sword. And as the general was approaching her on her wedding day, she rips her dress open, takes the sword, and goes to battle with the general that was coming to get her. So all of the Hanukkah miracle, the whole story, the whole revolution began with women. And it's very interesting too, because I always get excited around Hanukkah because Purim is coming. And I always connect Hanukkah and Purim because these are the two holidays, like we said, that are going to exist after the times of Mashiach. And I was thinking, oh, cool, how interesting, Obviously, we know that Purim is a story of divine femininity also. The whole thing is called Megillat Esther, revealing the hidden, or the revelation of Esther, literally the queendom, divine feminine as represented by Queen Esther. And then I was thinking how interesting it is that Purim happens in Iran, and here we are witnessing the uprising of the blessed, God bless you, women in Iran, and just how interesting that history is unfolding in this way, that the final holiday, Purim, we're seeing it a little bit happen in today's day and age. So as I was, and again, like I'm just dishing these Torahs out with you. I want your thoughts. I want your feedback. Please comment in the comments what you think. But so I was reading the Hanukkah narrative. I was reading the Ve'ala Nisim paragraph that's in the Birkat Hamazon. Ve'ala Nisim, Ve'ala Purkan, Ve'ala Gvura. And in it tells the story of Matityahu and the whole thing that happens. And it says that, in the miracle of the oil and the Greeks coming to Hanukkah to defile the inner sanctum. And I was like, it kind of like shook me. I was like, whoa, like, are you catching that reference? Like, what did the Greeks do? They literally defiled the inner sanctum of the sanctuary. And I don't know if I have to be explicit to tell you, but that sure sounds like what happens when someone takes advantage of a woman, is they've defiled the inner sanctum. And the job of the Jews was to restore the purity, literally pure olive oil, uncontaminated. Their job to heal this, to heal the temple, the sanctuary, the place where God comes into the world, was to restore the purity to the temple and to light it up again, to light up this pure light in the world. So that really, really shook me, because I was thinking like, wow, I never realized that the defiling of the sanctuary is really a metaphor for what's been with the disrespect of the energy of feminine throughout history. And what we are trying to do is restore that beautiful purity and the light, to restore the honor and the dignity of femininity. And again, as I'm saying femininity and masculinity, I'm not separating, God forbid, men and women. I'm referring to the divine femininity and the divine masculinity that's within each of us. And one thing I'm trying to figure out is what that all means. And I turn to you to really ask you, what does that mean for you and for me? I had the opportunity to get hypnotized last week, and one thing that the hypnotist pointed out to me was that that's something that I can work on, is healing those things. And I was like, oh, that's so cool, but what does it even mean, right? So I was thinking more about this, and I want to share. But first I want to share another teaching that really blew my mind, a chidush that I had that connects this back to Purim. So when Esther was getting prepared with the other women to go meet King Achashverosh, all the other women were getting prepared with their makeup and their outfits and their dresses, and Esther didn't really want any of this preparation. But one thing I believe, and please double check me on this because I didn't make time to look it up, but one thing that all of the women did was that they bathed for 6 months in what? In oil. And when I realized this, it also really shook me, because I don't think that it's random. Like Megillat Esther, the Megillah, the Purim Megillah, is not so long that, every sentence really matters. So really, why did they have to share with us that Queen Esther had to prepare by immersing in oil? And I just thought, oh my God, I wonder if there's a connection between the Hanukkah oil and the story of Purim, and how the Queen Esther, before she went to go meet the king, had to go prepare in oil, which again is really just the vessel for light, which is also sort of a woman's, like Kabbalistically speaking, she is the vessel that receives light and then is able to, woo, the water just came up on my legs. Big Yosef, that's part of it. So these are some of the things that I'm just wanting to share, and about the divine feminine rising and how we do that, and what we can do in our lives to help this process of history unfold beautifully and with respect. And again, not just for women, but for within each of us. And there was some other teaching so there was a few more things that I wanted to share. One was about receptivity, and one was about the fact that we are, entering into the month of Tevet. This is Rosh Chodesh, Chodesh Tov, by the way. So, receptivity first. So what is divine feminine? If you just ask on one foot, it's receiving, right? It's Malchut, actually. Queendom is the lowest sphera of the Kabbalistic energies. And the reason that it's the lowest is because it receives the light from all of the other sphirot, from all of the Kabbalistic emanations of God's light. So Malchut, which is kingship or queendom, is the one that receives. So a lot of femininity, according to also just, the basic understanding of sexuality, is she's the receiver, right? Or the feminine energy is receiving. And essentially, what is our job on Hanukkah is to sit there and receive the light, to take it in. So that was something that really touched me, and there's a lot to riff on there. I wanted to keep this as a quick thought, so I'll let you riff with me. What does it mean to you that the Divine Feminine is receiving? Again, I'm asking you for your teaching. Please teach me, share with me, like, what does that mean for me? How do I receive? Because also, as anyone who knows me knows, is I've been binging on Abraham Hicks lately, and she's this New Age teacher who's teaching all about how everything in the world is prepared for us. When you ask Hashem for anything, he says yes. The question is, are you a vibrational match to the frequency to receive that which you're asking for? So that basically all of Geula, all of redemption, all of salvation is not a matter of if Hashem can give it. It's am I aligned and lined up and in tune with my inner being, myself and my source to receive the light? And again, that's what we do on Hanukkah. Okay, so then there's another piece, which is the fact that tonight is called Zot Chanukah. The 8th night of Hanukkah, or tomorrow if you're already in Israel. Hey, my Israel peeps. I miss you, I love you, I'm so grateful for you and that you exist and that you're holding down the fort over there. So the whole thing of Zot Chanukah is that the 8th night of Hanukkah is the energy of all of Hanukkah. That all of the energy of Hanukkah comes down to this 8th night. And yes, it's true that the word Hanukkah grammatically is naturally feminine, but the idea that Zot Chanukah, it's not Ze Chanukah, it's Zot Chanukah. It's again that the whole receiving picture of all the energy is referred to in the feminine. So take it or leave it, whatever that means to you. And final thought, as the sun is going down on this Rosh Chodesh Tevet, is I'm actually here with my friend Chloe, who's somewhere down the way. She was asking me, do any of the energies of Tevet connect to your Torahs? And I was saying, actually yes, because Tevet, the month of Tevet, comes from, it's Aramaic for, it shares the same root as the word Tov. So Tov begins with the letter Tet, and I believe I learned it from Rabbi Chugman, but it's also sourced in, all understanding of the Hebrew letters. The letter Tet represents the womb, the feminine womb, which is goodness hidden within. Like when you're pregnant, you don't see the baby on the outside. There's goodness hidden within. And even though Tevet is known as one of the more difficult months, or let's say a continuation of this darkness, and so the question is if we can sit, receive the light, and find the goodness hidden within. So I just want to say that I'm sure that if we trust God, which is part of the whole thing we're here for, that we can look back and see why the feminine had to fall, find the good hidden within, and participate in supporting the divine femininity and the divine masculinity rising together, really. So yeah, I just bless us. I just bless us. First, I bless us to behold the beauty of the world and of light. I thank you guys so much for being with me on this little Torah exploration. And I bless myself that please share with me what you guys think it means about the divine feminine rising and how we respect that and what we do about that. And Hashem should bless us to keep learning together. And I'm so grateful for all these ideas that came down. And just do a little review. We spoke about how it's how Hanukkah and Purim, which is next. Okay, there's Tu B'Shvat, but in my eyes, everything is Purim. So how these are feminine holidays. They started with Yehudit and Queen Esther, how they are the ones that are going to happen in the times of Geula, which is when the feminine rises and returns back to her stature and her place. Talked about how the inner sanctum of the temple was defiled and how that was like, wow, such a parallel. Talked about how Malchut Esther, my chiddush that I had about how she had to, bathe in the oil, and perhaps that's connected. Okay, there's a lot more topics, but I'm just kind of tripping out on the sky over here. And Tevet and finding the good, the Tov that's hidden within. And yeah, so please God, you'll help me find the good that's hidden within these Torahs, and we'll greet Geula and Mashiach and see all the light and everyone rising tonight, please God. Happy Hanukkah, happy Zot Chanukah, the feminine, for the dudes and the chicks, right? There's no exclusion here. We're all in this together. And Chodesh Tov, and good Purim.